Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Cathy McGrath, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is for Friday, July 4th, 2025. And on the front, we have scenes from Canada Day, July 1st, strong and free. Neepawa, Minnedosa, and other surrounding communities celebrate Canada Day. And pictured are some of the events that were going on. There were celebrations all across the beautiful plains for Canada's 158th birthday. The communities of Minnedosa, Neepawa, and others arranged a variety of events. This included a bike parade, face painting, fireworks, and more. And there's a few more pictures here. Communities throughout the beautiful plains made the most of the warm weather on Canada Day, participating in a variety of available activities. Seen here are some additional scenes from the festivities of the day, such as the bike parade, swimming, fireworks, an obstacle course for kids, and live music. Happy Canada Day. So we move on to Always Stop to Welcome Strangers. Pictured, Sébastien Dejeur and Lisa Bouliand of New Caledonia recently passed through Neepawa by Chris Riddell. A quick trip across the street to one of our local grocers for a little bit of sour cream ended as an international visit. The Banner and Press ran into cyclists Lisa Bouliand and Sébastien Dejeur, who were recently in Neepawa as part of a multi-continent journey of discovery. These adventures hail from New Caledonia, a French territory which is located in the southwestern Pacific Ocean, approximately 1,500 kilometers, 930 miles east of Australia. Their global trek began in November and has already seen them travel through New Zealand, Australia, Japan, and South Korea. The Canadian portion of the adventure began in Vancouver in May and has brought them halfway across the country to our little bit of happiness right here in Neepawa. As of Sunday, June 29th, they had 239 days on the road. Next up, they will celebrate Canada Day in Winnipeg before their journey takes them into Ontario, then the United States, and back into Canada for Quebec and the Maritimes. There are still a multitude of countries in between, with the final destination, Paris, France. After exchanging email, we caught up with Sébastien a few days later and received the following response. Hello, Christine. It was a real pleasure for Lisa and me to meet you after such an exhausting day. Even after 7 months on the road, we still love discovering the towns we passed through, said Dejeur. We didn't mention it earlier, but we're also raising funds for the Paris Brain Institute, a leading research center focused on neurological and mental health diseases. Our goal is to support their efforts to better understand and treat these invisible conditions. Thank you again for taking the time to stop and chat. We really appreciated it. It would have been lovely to talk even more. Anyone interested in following Lisa and Sebastian's journey can do so via their blog at linktr.ee/linktravers Linktree le Traverse. It is in French, but can be translated at the bottom of the page. And a splash of beauty up and down the road. Student-made art installed at Neepawa's downtown by Owen Devereaux. And pictured here, Katie Martin and Megan Peters, above picture, recently installed an array of student-created art across downtown Neepawa. In total, about 20 of this art pieces will be up for the next few months. And there's even pictures of kids creating it. So, For the rest of summer, Neepawa's downtown core will have an added bit of vibrancy for all to enjoy. In total, 20 local art pieces have been installed on lampposts along Mountain Avenue and will remain in place until autumn. The art was created by Neepawa Area Collegiate, NACI, students who are part of the school's community art club. Teachers and artists Katie Martin and Megan Peters, who put up the artwork last week, also oversaw the project. Martin shared with the Banner and Press some of the background behind the art club's inspiration. Our community art club at NACI was inspired by the Your Town Rising presentation that was held in Neepawa last fall. Our theme for these pieces was just spring and summer flowers or birds, noted Martin. We hope to have them installed all summer, and our plan is to have something to decorate Mountain Avenue with for each season. We hope to create some nice decor for the lampposts for the fall, and to put out the painted candles we made last winter for the holiday season again. This project has been supported by Neepawa Tourism Committee, who have generously funded it, as well as a group of local business owners who are also eager to beautify the streets and create a positive, inclusive, and creative atmosphere for us all. Thanks to Katie, Megan, and all the art club students for sharing these creative ideas in our downtown. And right in the center by Ken Waddell, Getting Along in a Complicated World. One day when Jesus was teaching, the Pharisees were putting him to the test about the wording of the Bible. In Matthew 22, one of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question: "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself." When people express themselves in spoken or written word, it's important to take Jesus' words to heart. I really try to do that, but sometimes I have failed. I admit that. But falling short is not an excuse to stop following Jesus' words. I learned something long ago, that his anger is a choice. People will say that someone made me so mad. I think that I have said that a few times myself, but it doesn't change the fact that people may do things that are very annoying and beyond, but it's still a choice to get angry. The above quoted Bible verses lays the foundation for solving all our problems, be they personal, social, or political. I think I'm tired of the excuses. When people come to me with a problem, I try to listen. If there hasn't been an opportunity for them to come up with a solution in the first discussion, then I suggest a solution or solutions. If the complaining side of the discussion comes up again, I suggest that unless they come with a solution, then they are more interested in complaining than they are in solutions. After nearly 70 years of observing Canada Post, I'm pretty much done with the complaining by Canada Post management and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. Yes, I can readily remember when going to the post office 70 years ago when I was 7 years old. It was a fascinating place where you could get your mail, buy a stamp or a money order. You could pick up a parcel or a package from Eaton's mail order catalog, or once a year a birthday card or a little gift from my Aunt Jean in Calgary or Aunt Vi in Winnipeg. The post office was the hub of the community. Today, it still is to a limited extent, but between the CUPW and the Canada Post bureaucracy, they have just about killed off the institution. The exception is the Canadian Postmasters and Assistants Association. As the name implies, it's the organization that represents the postmasters, and they have struggled on in spite of the impediments thrown in their path by CP and CUPW. These two latter organizations have made life and work unreasonable for the CPAA folks. The rules and regulations that they insist upon are just plain silly. Canada Post has lost hundreds of millions of dollars with no end or solution in sight. Our papers left Canada Post a long time ago. As I have written before, we have been through 7 postal strikes, and all they have done is to be annoying, costly, and taught us how to get along without Canada Post. CUPW and Canada Post insist on 5 or 6 days a week door-to-door service in urban areas. That is ridiculous. They insist on sorting rules that make no sense. The delivery times on newspapers can be from 3 days to 3 weeks, as we have experienced personally. It would be very sad to lose the postal service, but I am not optimistic that it can survive. Small town offices get from 1 to 3 courier deliveries a day. CP and CUPW need to wake up or they will all be out looking for work, and they will take the local post offices and the CPAA workers with them. And again, the disclaimer that the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the newspaper staff. And we have Home Buddies by Rita Friesen. I invite you to stand. A truly delightful effect of travel is seeing new things, learning new things, and incorporating them, if suitable, into everyday living. Some of my friends delight in new foods, making mental and physical notes of combinations of spices and foods, tastes and textures, and taking them home to try. Not me. As I worshipped with the faithful in the ancient Iona Abbey, I noted and recorded phrases and ways of saying things and doing things that made sense. It has been my custom to invite worshippers to stand as they are able. That implies that if someone does not stand, they are not able. The wording, I invite you to stand, it is an invitation. Please do what is comfortable and appropriate for you, resonates with me. It is an invitation, not a request. Please do what is comfortable and appropriate for you. Having a tough day? Please, I'm thankful you were able to join us. Back, feet, or legs sore? Again, thank you for making the effort to attend the service. Heck, if you're more comfortable with a cup of coffee in hand, that's acceptable too. This whole invitation wording sent me down a rabbit hole. The youngest of my children often was treated like an only child. The other 4 were 9 to 16 years older than her and had left home before she was needed to be a working part of the household. The custom had been that I would ask one of the children, would you like to help with the dishes tonight, or any given chore, and they knew it was an assignment. However, the first and only time I asked the youngest if she would like to help with the dishes, her calm reply of, no thanks, changed the wording. When I tried explaining that it wasn't really a request, she accurately refuted that indeed it was, and no, she would not like to help with the dishes, not washing, nor drying. This coming from the same individual that logically explained that one could not go back and forth, for how could one go back if they had not been forth? Henceforth, we went forth and back, something I say to this day. Back to being invited or asked to do something. We had homeschooled our youngest from grade 5 through 7, and then she chose to take grade 8 by correspondence before attending a local school for grade 9. Nicely into the year, I received a call from her history teacher. My child had not done her homework. I thought that very strange and asked if she could remember how the assignment had been worded. Well, he had asked them to do it. Aha, I explained that he needed to tell her to do it, preferably with a timeline. Thankfully, he was willing to work with us. There were no more complaints. I think there is a strong similarity between the two illustrations. Very few of us like to be told what to do. Sometimes we need assignments and invitations. Much lies in the tone of voice and the actual words and intentions. There is a time for, I invite you. And Faithfully Yours by Neil Stroschein. His words live on. It was January 20th, 1961. Newly inaugurated John Fitzgerald Kennedy stepped up to the podium to give his first address as the 35th President of the United States. His words, carefully chosen and clearly spoken, challenged the nations of the world to bear the burden of a long twilight struggle against the common enemies of man, tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself. For the complete speech, see www.jfklibrary.org. Then he made 3 statements that I have never been forgotten. And so, my fellow Americans, he said, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man. Finally, whether you are citizens of America or citizens of the world, ask of us here, referring to those seated behind him on the platform, the same high standards of strength and sacrifice which we ask of you. Those words may have been spoken 64 years ago, but they are as relevant today as they would ever been. They demand radical changes from every Canadian and from every citizen of our world. We must accept as fact that we are in a fight for our very survival, and that we must work together to defeat tyranny, poverty, disease, and war itself. That work must begin in our own lives, in our homes and families, on the streets where we live, at the places where we work, in the sacred places where we worship the God of our understanding, in our communities, province, and country. God has assigned responsibilities for beginning this process to those who believe in him and who have welcomed his Son, Jesus Christ, into their lives as Redeemer and Lord. We must take seriously the promise God gave to King Solomon many years ago. When I shut up the heavens so there is no rain, or command the locusts to devour the land, or send pestilence among my people, if my people who are called by my name and humble themselves, pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, and I will forgive their sin and heal their land. 2 Chronicles 7:14. And we must do these words call us to do, whether or not what we do is noticed, appreciated, or has any immediate impact on those around us in our community or in our nation. We must humble ourselves before God and allow Him, by His Spirit, to show us where we have allowed selfishness and self-centeredness to affect how we vote in local, provincial, and federal elections, and what we seek of the governments we elect. We must pray and ask God to do what only He can do, to heal the divisions that exist in our land, to bring together Indigenous and others, to break down the barriers of race, color, and creed, and to help build a world in which all people are recognized as unique creations of an almighty God and accepted as people of value and worth. We must turn from our evil ways, acknowledge our sinfulness, and come to God in repentance and faith, knowing that He will have mercy and abundantly pardon. This is what we can do from our country. This is how we can heal our land and our world. This is what we must do, and I hope you will join me in saying, and this I will do. And we've got thumbs up and thumbs down. Thumbs up. Thumbs up to the individuals who worked hard in making and putting up the new decorations around Neepawa. They are a beautiful and colorful addition to spruce up the town for the summer season, by Casper Werhan. And another thumbs up. Thumbs up to the Beautiful Plains Community Foundation for choosing the Neepawa Handy Van for 2 of their grants. Thank you so much from the Neepawa Handy Van. And thumbs up to yet another Filipino Heritage Month celebration. While I was unable to attend in person this year, I always enjoy seeing photos from the celebrations. Cheers to many more, by Casper Werhan. And thumbs up to all involved in installing Neepawa's new Pocket Park located beside Gillen's small agency. It is great to see more community spaces in Neepawa's downtown that all can enjoy. And again from Casper Werhan. And a thumbs down. A thumbs down to our residents on Canada Day. Some people need to see Valley Optical or Dr. Jared Murray because they can't read nor see the no parking signs at the flats for Canada Day. And you also completely blocked off the fire hydrant. If you are too blind to see a fire hydrant, then you shouldn't be driving. And there is no excuse. There was a post on Facebook and a dozen no parking sandwich boards set up from Joel Asselstein. And a thumbs up to the town of Wellwood. They put on the best Canada Day Eve celebration from Joel Asselstein. And thumbs down to Denis and the town of Neepawa for purchasing yet again hundreds of trees with no plan to put them anywhere other than on homeowners' lawns without permission. Every year we have to watch piles of trees coming into the town, only for us to watch them die. I don't blame the workers. They're out there working hard to plant them when they could be doing other jobs. I blame the people in the office who make these decisions. We all know Denis has his priorities upside down. It's time for the residents to say we've had enough. Stop wasting our money. From John Lloyd of Neepawa. And we have some letters to the editor. Tragedy is not the fault of good people. The recent submitted article about the Highway 5 and Highway 1 intersection compels me to add my 2 cents. The tragedy was deemed driver error, so I am wondering why the government is taking responsibility for driver error. New drivers are trained to drive to the conditions of the road. This intersection is wide open and is not hidden in any way, so why not drive accordingly? The same types of intersections are seen at Highway 1 and Highway 34, also Highway 1 and Highway 16, where there have been fatalities at both of them. The tragedy at Highway 5 and Highway 1 is certainly not the fault of the good people of Carberry. As a handy van driver since 2008, I'm sure the driver of the handy van is paying a terrible price and would gladly trade places with any one of the deceased. The tragedy will live in the minds of the elderly riders to this day, also in the minds of handyman drivers. There is no amount of dollars or engineering that will solve human error, as it only relates to humans. I can guarantee you that leaving the intersection the way it is invokes more driver caution than anything else, and will always honor those who died in this tragedy. From John Lackey of Gladstone. And processes were transparent and appropriate. Dear Editor, the Arts Forward Board of Directors is writing in response to the letter printed in the June 27th edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. The letter raised concerns about a perceived conflict of interest involving our staff, the Pride-themed sidewalk at Arts Forward, and the recognition of the Filipino community. We would like to clarify the facts. There was no conflict of interest involving our executive director, who also serves as a town councillor. The request to paint the sidewalks was submitted independently by Neepawa and Area Pride to both the town of Neepawa and the Arts Forward Board. It was not initiated by the executive director in either role. The process was transparent and followed the appropriate procedures at both the town and Arts Forward Board level for approval. And it's carried on. We fully agree that the Filipino community deserves recognition. Arts Forward is proud to work closely with the Filipino community on many events and initiatives. In June, both the Filipino and Pride flags were flown at Arts Forward to celebrate inclusivity and cultural pride. A second Filipino flag was also raised at the Riverbend Schoolhouse with permission from the town, further honoring the contributions of Filipino residents. We are equally proud of our executive director, who was recently recognized by the PhilCan Association with a certificate of appreciation for ongoing support. We continue to foster a welcoming, safe, inclusive space for all individuals and groups. That is at the heart of what Arts Forward represents, a community hub for arts, culture, and connection in Neepawa and the surrounding area. Respectfully, the Arts Forward Board of Directors. And let's see. And a picture, thank you for your service. A familiar face down at the Chicken Chef, formerly Chicken Corral, in Neepawa has officially retired. Maxine Nagorski has worked at the business for 40 years, serving meals and smiles throughout that time. Congrats to Max. And Bears That Go A-Courtin' by Ken Kingdon. There are times when I struggle to find a topic for my monthly article, and June was shaping up to be such a time. Thankfully, a couple sets of bears decided to pop up and do something I have never seen before. Interestingly, this past month is the first time I've ever seen bears engage in what I believe was courting, and not just once, but twice. Ray and I saw the first pair of potential amorous bears crossing the highway just south of Onano. We spotted what we took to be an adult female first, sauntering across the highway at a leisurely pace. She was a nice looking with a rich shiny coat and what appeared to be a fairly large store of fat left over from last year. A real looker, you might say. Following behind, after about 30 seconds, was a much larger and even healthier looking bear. Although we couldn't see any dangly bits, it sure looked like a big male to us. He seemed very intent in following the smaller bear, but appeared to be in no hurry as he too slowly crossed the highway. The tourist took full advantage of his leisurely attitude, snapping away at him like wildlife paparazzi. I pondered aloud to Ray that given it was June and with no cubs in sight, that this might be a pair of bears caught up in mating season. We drove on, leaving the bears to themselves along with 20 gawking humans. Then, about a week later, it happened again. And to make the event seem even weirder, we happened to be listening to a story on the CBC about a man riding his bike in a triathlon when he ran into a bear. Since both subjects, triathlons and bears, were of interest to us, we were listening intently when, on cue, we saw a bear walk into the front yard. It was a nice-sized adult, apparently traveling alone. Like most of the bears that visit the yard, it wandered about, checking out the apple tree and raised flowers. As we watched, though, it suddenly stopped, stared into the bush, and then made a slow, dignified retreat in the opposite direction. This seemed odd, as we didn't think the bear saw or heard us, and so we continued to watch it as it progressed around the house to the backyard. The bear disappeared behind the woodpile, and we didn't give it too much thought. A few seconds later, though, we noticed that the bear had returned and was in the process of climbing up one of our large spruce trees. Again, slightly weird behavior. Then we noticed a second pair of ears peeking over the woodpile. These ears belonged to a much larger bear. Given the size of these bears, we knew that this wasn't a mama bear and her second-year cub. This was love, or at least sex. The big bear, which we decided was a male, slowly approached the smaller bear, which we now assumed was female. The female inched up the spruce tree, not in a panic, but more in a coy manner, with what we can only conclude was the bearish come-hither look. And the male bear did approach closer. The female now climbed from the tree onto the top of the adjacent woodpile. She looked down at the male. The next few minutes were a study of indecision. The big bear seemed to want to get closer, standing up and sniffing at the small bear. It appeared that the female pushed a few pieces of firewood down at the male, not exactly aggressively, but more like in the vein of, "I like you, but keep your distance, Buster." After a certain point, the female gave a big yawn, displaying her very sharp and plentiful teeth, perhaps indicating that she wasn't intimidated by the other bear. Sorry. Or maybe she was just bored. The whole process seemed to be like the kind of thing you might expect in the schoolyard of a junior high school, when two kids like each other but just don't have the tools or courage to show how they really feel. The end result is a mix of bluster and fear, offset by a yearning that builds and builds to a crescendo, only to fizzle out to nothing. As such, the male wandered off, perhaps waiting for the sow bear to change her mind. The female, obviously in no hurry to consummate the affair, slowly climbed down off the woodpile and proceeded to make another lap around the house. As she walked, she decided to work out some of her excess energy by delinquently beating up our lilac bushes and breaking off a few branches on our apple tree. Obviously, there was still some tension in the air. But that wasn't the only thing wafting in the air. There must have been literal love in the air in the form of pheromones. We watched the female wander along the edge of the bush, weaving in and out of the tree line, behind the garage, in front of the back shed, and then slinking through the densest part of the undergrowth in the backyard. About 30 seconds later, the male bear followed the exact same route, even though he was too far behind the female to know where she had traveled. In and out he wove, nose high in the air, sniffing as he went. Into the deepest, darkest part of the undergrowth he went, step for step where the female had gone before. Well, curious about what had happened next, I decided that discretion was the greater part of valor and didn't follow them into the bushes. Besides, to paraphrase Pierre Elliott Trudeau, we have no business in the bedrooms of the nation, nor in the affairs in the boudoirs of black bears. That's an interesting story. Here we go. It's just a recipe for disaster, honestly. Planned intersection change sparks outrage in Carberry by Owen Devereux. And pictured, there was a large gathering of concerned locals for the public meeting held on Wednesday, June 25th, to discuss the preferred option for renovating the Trans-Canada Highway intersection. The option being suggested is known as an R-cut design. Deborah Steen, above right picture, along with Jordan Dixon and others, have joined together to oppose the proposal. The road safety option that no one in Carberry wants appears to be the one they're getting along the Trans-Canada Highway. Local residents are not happy about that, and they're making sure the province knows it. A little under 200 people from the community and surrounding area voiced their strong opposition last week to the proposed redesign for the intersection at Highway Number 5 and the Trans-Canada Highway. The exact location was the site of the 2023 multi-vehicle crash that killed 17 people. During a public open house at Carberry Collegiate on Wednesday, June 25th, the preferred redesign option, known as a restricted crossing U-turn, R-cut, was announced. The R-cut would force drivers turning from Highway 5 to first turn right onto the Trans-Canada Highway, then travel nearly a kilometer, and then finally execute a U-turn to proceed in their intended direction. The R-cut was one of 3 options under consideration to the proposed safety upgrade to the highway. It was selected because it has fewer points of conflict where vehicles heading in different directions might collide. This style of road system has become common in some parts of the United States. As well, an R-cut is recently constructed northwest of Saskatoon. Confusing and dangerous. But the meeting revealing the preferred choice also revealed massive local frustration in the selection process. On this night, residents presented a petition to the Landmark Planning and Design, the consulting firm in charge of the safety review. In total, the petition contained more than 2,100 signatures of locals who are against the R-cut plan. It elaborates on the complaints by stating the configuration is impractical for large vehicles and will create a dangerous and confusing situation along the roads. It's just a recipe for disaster, honestly, said Deborah Steen, a local resident who, along with Jordan Dixon, helped to collect the signatures for a petition. Some attendees went even further in their assessment of the option, describing the proposal as a fiasco and accusing the government of pushing a cost-saving measure that fails to prioritize public safety. The petition also made clear the preferred choice would be an overpass instead, which locals believe would allow traffic to move freely and safely without detours. Along with the local residents, Agassiz MLA Jody Byram also commented on the option selected. I am not in support of an R-cut where there hasn't been community consensus and community support. We have school buses that are using the intersection. We will have new drivers driving to school in that same time harvest is happening, which will all compromise the safety of every driver on the road using that intersection. Byram also expressed her belief that further data gathering is needed, especially during peak traffic times such as harvest or during the spring. The process is still ongoing. Earlier this year, the province set aside $12 million to improve the intersection. Completion of a detailed design and the construction tender are expected to occur this fall. From there, construction is proposed for next summer, with normal traffic access expected to be in place before the winter of 2026. And a captivating experience. Local students take the podium at graduation ceremonies, and pictured top to bottom, Neepawa, Carberry, Gladstone. Beside it is McCreary and St. Rose. And there is a listing of all the Neepawa Area Collegiate Institute scholarships, bursary, and award winners, but there's an awful lot of names there that I'm not going to read out loud, but they are here. A legacy of kindness and caring for Minnedosa. Florence Bold Memorial Spray Park officially opens on Canada Day by Casper Warehan. And pictured, the official opening of the Florence Bold Memorial Spray Park was a grand occasion for Minnedosa on Canada Day. Pictured above, a view of the new spray park as it appeared just before the ribbon cutting ceremony. And below left, Yvette Hunt, granddaughter of Florence Bold, provided a few words during the opening festivities. And below right, following the ceremonial speeches, Mayor Ken Cameron assisted members of the Bold family in cutting the ribbon. And pictured right down at the bottom, once the opening ceremonies were complete, all in attendance thoroughly enjoyed the spray park. Seen here is a portion of the crowd that was in attendance for the grand opening and who joined it afterwards. By Casper Warehan. Communities in the Neepawa Banner and Press coverage area helped celebrate the nation's 158th birthday this past Tuesday. In one community, however, there was a special addition to those celebrations. In Minnedosa, the community welcomed the opening of its brand new Florence Bold Memorial Spray Park. Florence raised 7 children and 2 grandchildren in Minnedosa, later moving to Victoria in 1968. The family's tie to the spray park follows her passing in 2001, as her youngest son, the late Rodney Bold, would bequeath the financial support to the town of Minnedosa. These funds were donated for the purpose of building the spray park, commemorating his mother. A life lived, a love shared. The opening of this brand new community feature officially got underway with a ribbon cutting ceremony at 12 p.m. with members of the Bold family in attendance. Your legacy of kindness and caring is a gift to us all, and my Uncle Rod, the baby of 7 children who made this wonderful park possible, was the most lovable, caring, carefree, and adventurous man. Someone I was proud to call my uncle today, and every day, said Yvette Hunt, granddaughter of Florence Bold. Hereafter, as the children's laughter rings out as they play here in this park that you made possible, it celebrates not only the years you've lived, but the love you've shared. Minnedosa Mayor Ken Cameron, who aided in the ribbon cutting, also provided a few words. It's extremely special to have this kind of day, to open a facility like this. Look at the kids already, and to have that bequeathed to us from the Bold family, just absolutely amazing, said Cameron. For them to do this for a community they used to live in and love coming back to, and you know their goal was to make sure kids could have fun here. So that's pretty special in my mind, that they would think of Minnedosa. Splash Park availability. This ribbon cutting marked a joyous end to the implementation of this long-term project and a start to much enjoyment for the community and its visitors. According to available newspaper archives, work for the creation of the park began in 2023. With the park now fully operational and officially open to the public, all are welcome to enjoy it during its hours of operation. The Florence Bold Memorial Spray Park is operational Monday to Sunday from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Appreciation is extended to the Bold family from the town and Minnedosa Parks and Recreation for their kindness and generosity. And a send-off is planned for one of our local World University athletes by the Banner staff. A special event has been arranged at the Yellowhead Center for a local athlete preparing to compete on a global stage. A community barbecue will take place on Wednesday, July 10th, as a send-off to Neepawa's own Dax Turner. The event is serving as a fundraiser, with all the money raised going to support Dax's journey to success. Turner, along with fellow former NACI track athlete Lara Dembo, have been selected to compete at the 2025 FISU World University Games in Germany. The FISU Summer World University Games are staged every 2 years, and it's the largest global multi-sports event for student athletes in the world. Turner will not only be on hand for the event, and will also be spending the afternoon at the community day camp held in the Yellowhead. Turner competes in the triple jump and is a 4-time Canada West champion, as well as a 4-time national medalist. As for our other local athlete, Lara Dembo earned her place at the World Games as a back-to-back national champion from Manitoba in the high jump. She was also a Canadian national champion in high jump at the under 16 and under 18 levels, and a silver medalist in the triple jump at the under 18 nationals. Best of luck to our local athletes in Germany. And McCreary's Brady Turco picked in the 2025 NHL draft by Joshua Jackson. As a kid, many of us dream of playing in the National Hockey League, but for McCreary's Brady Turco, that dream is becoming a reality. The 17-year-old was selected in the 7th round pick 200 of the NHL's entry draft to the Anaheim Ducks, which took place on June 27th and 28th in Los Angeles, California. Turco has been a member of the WHL's Brandon Wheat Kings for the past 2 seasons, amassing 8 goals and 21 assists. Before his tenure in the WHL, Turco was a mainstay with the under-18 AAA Brandon Wheat Kings, adding 133 points with the club over 85 games. At the TELUS Cup, Turco would score 8 goals and 3 assists to help lead the team to silver. Turco's selection was a little bit unexpected, as he had not been on any of Central Scouting's lists. In an interview with reporter Perry Bergson of the Brandon Sun, Turco talked about dealing with that uncertainty. "Everyone is a little uncertain," Turco told the Sun. "You never know what can happen with the draft. I talked to a couple of teams, and you just keep your hopes high. Luckily for me, it did work out, and I'm grateful for the chance." Turco has already reported to the Ducks' 2025 development camp, which took place from June 30th to July 2nd. The camp consisted of off-ice workouts, skating, and skills development. Turco was not the first Brandon Wheat King to hear his name selected at the draft. Roger McQueen was also drafted by the Ducks 10th overall in the first round, and another Wheat King, Carter Klippenstein, was picked 123rd overall by the Minnesota Wild. And Santa Clara baseball update. The Portage Padres and Carberry Royals were your Wednesday night winners as the season works into the home stretch. Rory Mans was lights out for the Padres as he threw a complete game, 2-hit shutout to lead Portage to a 4-0 victory over the Neepawa Cubs. The Padres now move to 10-1-0, while the Cubs drops to 3-6-2. Meanwhile, in Carberry, it must have been veteran night because the senior boys were doing it all for the Royals. Eric Truscott picked up a complete game, 5-3 victory over the Minnesota Mavericks. While the Royals only managed 3 hits all night, they were very opportunistic of a walk and a pair of Maverick errors. Truscott singled while Warren Birch had 2 singles and drove in 3 runs for the Royals, 4-5-2. For the Mavericks, Luke Gauguin and Austin Taylor shared the pitching duties, keeping the Royals off balance all night. But it wasn't quite enough. Offensively for the Mavs, 2-6-3, Braden Stewart was a 2-for-3 with an RBI and a run. George McNeil was 2-for-4 with a double and a run, and Andrew Richards was 2-for-4 with an RBI and a run scored. And arena concerns. To my way of thinking, the first step in a new rec center project should be to decide on the building, list the priority components in order, make it public, and stick with it. 1 arena, 2 hall, 3 field house, etc. It's imperative in the long term that we use funds available at the time to start building the designated priority components first, and refuse to compromise on the integrity of these priorities. If there ever was a time in our history to never compromise the possible by setting for less, it's now. To do less would be tragically out of sync with the new hope and pride in our community and country. If inflation calculator I used is correct, the $18 million it cost to build the Verdon multipurpose rec facility in 2011 would be equivalent to $25.7 million in 2025. This building has a community hall, a 1/8 mile walking track, office space, meeting rooms, canteen, a fitness center, and a hockey arena with 1,200 seats spread over both sides of the ice. Niverville's complex cost $19.3 million in 2021, which translates to $22.9 million in 2025 using the same calculator. Niverville has a multi-court field house with a walking track, an indoor playground, a kitchen, a drama theater, meeting rooms, and a hockey facility with 1,000 seats on one side of the ice. If these numbers are in the ballpark with a facility based on the Verdon model, would cost $2.8 million more than the one in Niverville. There are two choices, I see it. One, a Niverville-type center at the expense of the Verdon-style arena, or two, we could add the less expensive but absolutely legitimate components and more a little later down the road. This route would result in a much-needed hall and an actual 1,200-seat arena, the flagship at the center of them all, enhancing the functionality and prestige and pride in the mall today, 20 years from now, 50 years from now. I don't believe it is a stretch to say Neepawa could grow in population to somewhere north of 12,000 during the life of any new complex. Going forward, that has to be the first consideration concerning priority. One, for comparison's sake, ask yourself if a 1,000-seat grandstand would be adequate hockey facility for Portage la Prairie today. One thing for sure is that for every year we don't build anything, the price goes up somewhere around $500,000. There's a rumor Mark and Wob will be looking for things to build in the next couple of years, not to mention my own urgency in the matter. I'm old. P.S. The town of Verdon, population 3,118, own, control, and operate the Tundra Oil and Gas Center, as well as the swimming pool adjacent to it. And that's from Ross McBride of Neepawa. And the Provincial Summer Students Initiative continues to prove popular in Prairie Mountain health. It's summertime, and for some eager students, early exposure to healthcare careers can be valuable experience that influences their future decisions. Discover Health's Careers Manitoba, formerly the home for the summer program, offers term positions to students within the health region to provide a hands-on experience in clinical, hospital, or healthcare site environments that apply to their areas of training. The program initially started with medical students and extends to nursing and allied healthcare studies, including career areas like public community health nursing and pharmacy. PMH and Shared Health Costs share the initiative. PMH offers 26 approved positions this year in pharmacy, primary care, mental health, therapy services, acute care, public health, and nutrition services. For first and second year medical students, PMH has sponsored 10 positions in Neepawa, Verdon, Deloraine, and Brandon. In Brandon, the areas include anesthesia, obstetrics, gynecology, general surgery, psychiatry, radiology, the Western Manitoba Cancer Centre, nephrology, orthopedics, ophthalmology, and hospitalists. Dr. Sydney McLaughlin is preparing to start her first year of residency in Neepawa, based out of the Beautiful Plains Medical Clinic. In 2022, she spent 8 weeks through the program at the clinic in Neepawa. In 2023, she participated in various locations, including Dauphin, St. Rose, Killarney, and Neepawa. She spent time seeing patients with a preceptor in a variety of clinical situations and appreciated opportunities to advance her education. I found the experience to be very rewarding and a great way to continue my learning over the summer in order to further prepare myself for clerkship years in medical school. Home for the Summer gave me the opportunity to explore my career options while also earning an income that helped to pay for my medical school. This is something that I'm very thankful I had an opportunity to pursue, McLaughlin stated. Students originate from the region and must be enrolled in healthcare training programs that fits a future need for PMH. The duration of sponsored positions varies depending on the type. Medical students' positions are up to a maximum of 6 weeks. The maximum duration for nursing, allied health, and other positions is 10 weeks. The program requires an agreed-upon time commitment. Students do not start or finish simultaneously. Editor's note, an expanded feature story on Dr. Sydney McLaughlin will appear in a future edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. And a letter to the editor, World Policeman or World Bully. Under President Joe Biden, the USA acted in a conciliatory manner but looked at the world as a place for American companies to exploit other parts of the world's natural resources and producing goods for the American consumer with low-valued labor, with minimal benefits and poor working conditions. Under President Donald Trump, the USA has set up tariffs to protect American manufacturing in the non-union states, which have watched their jobs be exported to parts of the world with poor working conditions. President Trump prefers to act as a world bully and wishes unquestionable power to lead the American policies and actions. President Trump seems to admire other dictators that control their country without public scrutiny. At times, there is a battle of these views until the USA picks a fight with some other part of the world. Then, most views support the war and pull together as a nation. How should the Canadian leader, Prime Minister Mark Carney, endeavour to lead the world to choose peaceful discussions through the United Nations? From Robert Smith of Edrins. And Co-op and High Life support Neepawa Salvation Army. There was a High Life Co-op and Salvation Army event held in Neepawa on June 13th. The event was a food-based occasion at which over 400 meals were served and all funds raised benefiting the Neepawa Salvation Army. A total of $2,212 was donated. And pictured are Crystal Summers, account manager at Fresh Retail at High Life, Amanda Nottengale, and Ali Petrepka, marketing and member relations specialist at Neepawa Gladstone Co-op. And Neepawa's Legacy and Canada Day by Veronica Sigue at the Beautiful Plains Museum. We have just celebrated Canada Day, and it's perfect time to continue to celebrate Neepawa's fascinating and significant contributions to Canadian history. Neepawa, our beloved land of plenty, has garnered national attention for years. From our renowned Margaret Lawrence to Shane Knighty to High Life, our pork processing factory, also our participation in the wars to the iconic buildings and streets in our town. Neepawa has been a diamond in the rough for many years. Canada played a vital part of the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan, BCATP, and Neepawa was home to one of the training forces that supported the Allies in the Second World War. From 1942 to 1944, the RCF station here trained many international recruits, many getting their first taste of our crazy cold winters. The RCAF station closed on August 25, 1944, as the war ended. To learn more about Neepawa's involvement in the First World War, the Second World War, our prisoners of war, or to see interesting artillery uniforms and medallions, please visit the Beautiful Plains Museum's military exhibit. While you drive, bike, or take a walk along the streets, you might notice some interesting and iconic buildings. The buildings on Mountain Avenue especially thrived back in the day. The museum itself was the Canadian National Railway, CNR's, train station from 1902. Have you ever wondered about the past of these buildings, or would like to know more about the homes and stores from long ago? The Beautiful Plains Museum's photo album and textbook library are full of answers and interesting photos. If you're looking for a place to keep the kids engaged and having fun during the summertime, drop by the museum. We're open Tuesday to Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and starting in July, we'll also be open Sundays from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. We look forward to seeing you soon. And now we'll go back to Looking Back by Caspar Werhan. 125 years ago, July 4th, 1900, Arden, the Arden football team played at the Ivanhoe Picnic on Monday and won by 4-1. Orange Ridge. R. McConnell is erecting a large frame stable on his farm. On Orange Ridge, R.A. Moore is at present engaged in getting out stone for a new house. Owing to his scarcity around here, he has been sinking wells for them. 100 years ago, 1925, Arden. J.C. Wenham, the new school principal, arrived on Wednesday to unload his car of household effects. Arden. Many happy memories will remain in the minds of all those from our town who attended the sessions at the Eden Chautauqua. Many attended from here and speak very highly of the lectures, the musical entertainment, and the play Daddy Longlegs. Norgate. Dr. Bishop, veterinary inspector, returned to Dauphin on Monday after performing tests for tuberculosis on several cattle herds in the district. It is to the credit of the owners that each herd was found without reactors. 75 years ago, 1950, excuse me, a family reunion was held on July 1st at the Neepawa district home of Fred S. Coulter, site of the original family home of the Coulters. It was only a pair of pajamas on a trip to Fun Lee's Neepawa Laundry. For Fun has been on the laundry business here for nearly 20 years, but this is the first time he had ever seen a valuable pair of pajamas. Tucked in the breast pocket were 7 $100 bills and 6 $20 bills for a grand total of $820. And unfortunately, an editor's note, the remainder of the text was blurry on the microfilm, but from what the writer can surmise, it appears the money was safely returned to the owner. 50 years ago, July 3rd, 1975, McCreary, fire early Tuesday morning, June 24th, destroyed the trailer home of Mr. and Mrs. Jerry Sherman, situated 13 miles northwest of McCreary. The fire broke out early Thursday afternoon, completely destroying the trailer home of Mr. and Mrs. Glenn Hall of Neepawa. Presentations of the Plumas Lions Walkathon trophies was held on Tuesday, June 24th, at the Pony League ball game by President of the Lions Club, Al Woods. Total pledges amounted to $1,334.26. A check of $1,000 was reprinted to the Ring Committee President, Jack Friesen, with the rest of the money to follow later. 20 years ago, 2005. Happy Bill's Car Wash and Gas Bar wasn't a very happy place last Saturday, at least not for owner Barry Uranek. Uranek said after a semi overturned in front of his property, customers were denied access for 6 hours before the cleanup was complete and Highway 16 reopened. And it's pictured here above. You can see the scene west end of the highway on Neepawa around this time in Neepawa. The photo appeared in the press for July 4th. Edition under the title, Board Meeting. The semi-truck, which was been hauling lumber, was sideswiped by a car. The semi-driver then attempted to avoid further collision, but was rolled off the road. No one had access at all, Uranek said. We lost at least $6,000 in revenue. Even though his gas pump stood idle, Uranek said he still had to pay 2 employees who were on the job that day. That hurt, he said, is enough to deserve compensation. Definitely I want to take legal action, Uranek said. Whoever is at fault should have to pay. Uranek's business was blocked after a 19-year-old Brandon man sideswiped a semi just east of the junction of Highway 16 and 5. And since we're being broadcast on NACTV, some of the highlights of the week coming up are Coffee Chat with MX Dion on July 7th, NACI Grad on July 8th, and the William Morton Collegiate Grad on July 7th, plus a number of new shows. And that concludes the reading of the Neepawa Banner and Press for Friday, July 4th, 2025. I hope you enjoyed.